But that's how it works, pretty much. That all of us have lots of experience and lots of things to share. And right. So, Hassan, you work as an artist advocate at King, and it's I don't know if it's fun or not fun that pretty much the role is called developer relations, but actually you don't. Well, in a way, you do build relations with developers, but basically you advocate not for developers but for artists. You try to build bridges between artists and developers, right?
I mean, it's called game development, right? I see all artists within game development as developers. Also, they're not like developers in your sense. So they're not coding, but they're developing a game. So as a game artist, I see a lot of them having a lot of like technical knowledge, which is not a typical artist, I would say. So in a way, I don't see a problem with that. Like even though it has the title of developer relations, I see it the same way.
I
Like
see.
I'm doing pretty much the same job, but for a different audience.
How many other artist relations people do you know?
Right now, we did hire another one at King, which started in my team just a while ago. I don't know many artist advocates. It's it's me who started developing the role at King because there was a need for it, and now that we saw it was a successful story, we wanted to knowledge share and benefit more of it. So we hired another person in my role.
Right. So, and what you wanted to talk today about or to discuss is how much do you support whoever you are advocating to, right?
Right. So I think this will be close to other people's hearts also as developer relations in general. But one of the things is that the more you help the developers or the artists, like in general, just in game development, if you help people, then you learn more. I find myself learning more by teaching actually, and that has been applicable for different traits for me, but I find it much more so in game development. So the more I help people, the more I learn, and at the same time, I'm able to teach better. But the thing is, then I'm creating a gap here because the more I learn, I leave the development team in shadows of not knowing what I'm teaching. So I might be helping whoever it is in a team way too much. So they might work around or something, or they understand it, but then it just makes sense in the moment. So my question is, and I'm going to iterate a bit more on it, is how much help should you give someone? Because if you help too much, then you might be solving a different problem. You might be solving the immediate problem, but then the development team is not working in the right direction.
Wait,
So
let me try.
yeah.
Let me try to rephrase it since I'm a bit lost. Like what you're saying is like, look, I'm supporting all the people I'm responsible for, but I'm afraid I'm so good that they won't be able to learn or to improve, or the
I
software
think
won't be
that
able to improve, or
I think that can be the case after a while. It's unavoidable, like an outcome from just supporting, that you will learn more from something, and then you need to somehow bring back this knowledge to your team. So one way is actually bringing it back to the team, like the knowledge you learn in the field. Like if someone is struggling with something and you help them, you bring back the knowledge to the team. So you're not only educating outwards,
right.
but inwards as well. So you're telling your team what could be the focus areas.
Now, before we invite Yana and Mustafa to discussion, let's bring in some more context. Many of us in developer relations field, in develop like whoever is called developer advocates, bigger part of our jobs is to inspire other people use software that we sort of advocate for, and in your case your artists don't really have options.
Well, the thing is, that's true. Partly it's true, but at the same time, our product has been solid, so they have been fine with it. It's more like driving the production in the right direction. Yes, to some extent you're right, but at the same time I want to argue that it's not all the truth, because I feel like our product is solid at many levels.
Yeah, so that's an interesting topic.
But I'm biased, of course,
Jan
because I
and
work with our
Mustafa, do you
product.
have anything to add?
I would probably like to ask, or maybe call you to this discussion in a different perspective. So let's make a step back and try to realize that in the industry overall, it's game dev, and then it's software development, and then it's some IT outsourcing, let's say. As there are many different roles which may somehow do similar jobs, or many like roles which are called in the same way, who really indeed do the different jobs. So in order to bring your case, Hassan, I wanted to understand who else in the industry overall would do something similar. So what are the similarities in what you do to someone who would, let's say, be an internal HR person in the company?
Why? I'm also struggling to like. I see
don't-
Yeah,
Hassan.
I try to understand how to bring your work outside of a game developers context, and see if there's anything like this at all outside of game developers context. I would probably put it this way.
Product
I'm kind of
manager plus teacher, I guess.
It's not an HR role. She's asking for an HR role.
Yeah.
No, just yeah, I would probably go the way with
But
Oleg.
it's a good, if it's the question about other roles, I think it's a good subject that I can iterate more about. But I just presented you one of the problems. I think in my position, it's several things, because like a DevRel can be a bit different from a company to a company. But I think the main focus for the relations person is to communicate and teach. But partly as part of my role, I see it. I even do some testing, but I'm not really a QA. The testing
Okay.
I do is not regression testing. So the testing I do is maybe
Like product
some.
kind of texting,
you're
right?
learning basically on behalf of other developers so that you can convey this like information that you've learned to others. So
For sure,
basically,
but
you're a good
but
learner, and you're a
exactly.
good teacher. So that's what makes DevRel a DevRel.
That's the main difference. But like if I look at a task where I need to test something, I would go for a task where it is testing towards a user, where I can communicate with them and get a clear room to talk to them and understand more of their problems. So then it would go into the work of a UX, and it would go towards
Okay.
work of a QA. But at the same time, I'm going to learn more about the product ownership. So you see, as a DevRel, I don't think your main focus should be on teaching and learning, but you are going to do other stuff, and they are going to help you to be a better DevRel, an advocate. So
What about marketing? So you do like let's just see what else basically you do in your role. So once you teach, sometimes you also introduce the product in a way.
Yes.
Would that be
Yeah.
considered a marketing activity in some
Definitely,
contexts?
Indeed,
but
yeah.
like Oleg was trying to explain before, the context is a bit different. So I don't need to market, and that's why I see the difference actually with a DevRel and an advocate. A DevRel is and an evangelist is more of a seller, while I don't really need to sell the product. So I'm more welcomed. I don't have the struggle of I need someone to use my product. My product is being used, so I just go and help people. So if I'm introducing something, I'm non-biased. I will be brutally honest if there is something wrong with that part of the product, and so they don't struggle with it. So I don't have a marketing kind of perspective, but I do present new things to users, definitely.
Maybe
But
let's
it's not.
get back to original Hassan's question. Mustafa, do you
Yeah.
have an opinion?
Yeah, actually, what I think is the focus of the DevRel or developer advocacy kind of program in any company. So as Oleg knows like best, like better than all of us, yeah, he used to work in sales. Yes, I mean sales developer advocacy is different from marketing developer advocacy, and evangelism and community management. All of these are like basically different roles that we kind of try to fit in from time to time. But I mean, it depends on the company and the context of the company and the product you are trying to do relations on top. So, for example, on your product, you have like a mature, fully developed product, but at the same time, you have a big user base, which you want to kind of try to align them with the values that the company wants, basically. You don't want to sell them anything. They're already sold, like to the idea, to the product, to everything. They're already using it. But at the same time, they're struggling with different things. Like, for example, in our company, people are, for example, let's say, struggling with making a having a special use case out of our like load testing product. So we jump in, we try to reproduce what they try to do, and try to come up with different scenarios, different options to present to the user. So that's what we do. That's uh, like this is a on-demand basis, and on the other side, we have this like forward-thinking approach in which we try to see what the users may need, like in the future, in midterm, short term, long term, something. In order for us, yeah, exactly. In order to have a roadmap, in order to try to like write articles, try to like record videos and publish, and try, I don't know, whatever like activity that can help others.
We have
but my main point is
more for this question. So let's try either to reduce scope, since and see like four of us have tried to approach it from different angles. Let's either try to reduce the scope or try to figure out like at least one something takeaway. I mean, we've spent 15 minutes on it. There should be something.
But one of the things, my key points was before even doing this is that the developer relations and the advocates, I feel, need to almost be in production and like not only working towards outside. And I feel that I'm getting the same kind of feeling from Mustafa. Like we help them with features, but also you need to bring back the information and be involved in production. I feel that's an essential part of where DevRel needs to be present. So I don't know what my question would be is, are you present in your fields in production, or are you more just selling and teaching outside?
Here we go. And now we got back to
Depends on the context of the company and the product.
What's that?
We got back to existential question that gets raised when developer advocates get drunk or just get together every time. So pretty much like,
and we are not even drunk yet.
Like the question is, do the product people allow you pretty much to bring them the feedback?
Yes, in my case, yes. In our case, I would say in our company, they're very open to feedback, and they actually embrace it. They want us to bring more feedback.
But then,
how is it for you?
Isn't that the answer to a question then?
Which what is the answer?
That you are the UX, UI, and / product person, and as a bonus, and you just bring this feedback back to the product team, and they implement your feedback. And this is how you solve the problem. Like, this is how you balance out.
That's the problem. The main question was how to balance it out. And I feel sometimes we end up doing more of something, because the main purpose of our group is to teach, right? So where goes the balance of being involved in production and bringing back the feedback? Because you don't want to act as a UX. You're not a UX person. So what is the balance for you? Because you should provide this feedback. You should help. But what's the balance there? You see.
I am in humble disagreement with you on that, but maybe let others speak for a moment.
Sure.
I have again an opinion. I'm trying to bring this to other company outside of development. Let's say Apple on WWDC, this is an Apple conference. The developers of pretty much all the products and solutions. So all the iOS developers or whatever, any like relevant developers who are coming to this conference can approach the real developer of that or this product and try to solve this specific question, ask for some details and so on. So in this case, those just real hands-on developers are DevRels for their solution and product, but they do not do this full time. They only do this for the public events. But
Exactly.
they bring as much insights as they can because they are the production team, and also they bring the interesting questions and topics from the audience right back to the feature and product development, like right there. But at the same time, I'm figuring out, like, just to name what the DevRel does. Yeah, like UX, a bit product, a bit of everything. But it's also like a technical support, isn't it? Because,
Yeah.
and that's what you probably mentioned, that you try to avoid, to like just not try to solve all their problems because they will just start being lazy and just keep asking instead of figuring it out, right? So it's also like basically DevRel then is a combination of UX, product, marketing, teacher, sometimes sales, sometimes support, sometimes like a part of team that just shares the knowledge. Like it's so many things in one. And I really bet that it's very different from company to company. And even hiring a person who used to be a DevRel in a game dev area in a different company would probably have like a different perspective or a different approach from how they work over there. Wouldn't be the case, Hassan? Because I think maybe the interesting way to answer this question is how did you approach hiring a new person? Did you look for someone with
But
relevant experience or
it's a
not?
very good question, but we don't have time for that since we're trying to get under hour. But maybe we
Okay.
will return with this question sometimes later, maybe next time.
Sure.
But I think it's still fair to Mustafa. Do you have a last remark on that?
Definitely.
About
I don't know about anything. Last remark, because I mean,
oh
I
yeah,
feel
yeah. So
like we're stealing lots of air,
I mean, we
and
can talk about this forever.
yes,
Yes.
but we're gonna switch to Yana in a moment. Uh,
actually, what I think basically is that I'm still like I'm a new DevRel. Uh, kind of I've been an ethical hacker and like a software engineer for years, and then turned developer relation just for 3 or 4 months, and I was still learning, and I was still confused and like puzzled, uh, even right now. Um, uh, yeah, I'm doing multiple things. I'm writing piece of software in Java, and then kind of trying to write an article about it, trying to do like try to find some integration for our product that the development team and like the backend team doesn't have time for. So I jump in and just say, okay, I will do it because like I think this is important for our product to for our portfolio to have this integration with this tool, for example. So yeah, it is a confusing job, to be honest.
is it like, shall we just draw to that the role of developer advocate is confusing and no one knows what we do, including us?
I know what
Yes,
I'm
I
doing.
can say
I'm very
that.
confident in what I'm doing.
Actually, we are engineers basically
Yeah.
that can speak like because like most of the engineering like people I've seen are kind of literally afraid of talking or afraid of like making connection with people. It's kind of like introvert. This is my word. I see it my way. So come from a different world. So I haven't studied computer science like in bachelor's, but then I turned computer science in master's. So I do have a way with words. so I know how I know why. When I turned into CS in masters, I know why they don't talk, because they have a lot to say, but they don't have a lot of time or lots of audience. So I would recommend just go blog.
And thing is that Mustafa, you've just made a perfect intro to pretty much the next session by Yana, because Yana's job is in a way to pretty much squeeze out the content out of introvert developers.